A Second Chance at Love. Previous episodes are available in playlist. A link is given in the video description. Episode 78. Jail. Meanwhile, Roxanne had a pale look on her face, but Lucian did not know if it was because she had not fully recovered from the poison or because she was in a foul mood. Lucian was worried, so after exiting the hotel, he brought her to lunch before taking her to the hospital for a full-body checkup. Knowing that he was worried, Roxanne went along with his plans. Lucian was finally at ease after Roxanne underwent a series of tests and was confirmed to be mostly fine. "I know my own body. The poison is gone," Roxanne softly reassured him. "It's just that too many things have happened lately, and I'm having a hard time digesting them all. I'll be fine once things blow over." Roxanne would feel wistful every time she thought about Jack's true nature and the collapse of Damaris Group. At that, Lucian pulled her into an embrace and spoke in a quiet voice. "Jack only has himself to blame for the downfall of Damaris Group. Furthermore, the Damarises have to bear the responsibility for not noticing what he has been doing. To put it simply, it was them who caused their fall from grace. Jack's vision for the continued development of Damaris Group, if realized, would result in worsening circumstances over time. If their cover had not been blown this time, it was highly probable that Damaris Group would be implicated in an irreparable medical mishap the next time. Perhaps this was the best ending for Damaris Group instead of involving even more victims. Roxanne knew that, and yet, she still could not help but feel wistful about it. If this is the true nature of Damaris Group, a company known for its benevolence, what about the other medical groups? Roxanne wondered if her decision to put her patients as her priority was wrong. Seemingly reading her mind, Lucian leaned closer to her ear and said, "Every professional has their own responsibilities. Damaris Group was established by a family of doctors, and they should prioritize saving lives. Even if they sought wealth, they should not have taken the path of evil. They were the ones who mixed up their priorities. Doctors like you are a rare sight now. I'd say Peregrine liked how you continued walking down the path you initially chose, and that's why he has chosen to stay at your research institute." He then ran his fingers through Roxanne's hair and continued, "With me around, you won't need to worry about money as Jack did. All you need to do is focus on your medical career and leave the financial issues to me." Moved, Roxanne smiled at him. Despite his subtle words, she understood that he was asking her to hold on to her principles and ethics. His reassurances washed away her worries, and she no longer appeared so grim. A comfortable silence ensued in the car. Right then, the ringing of a phone broke that silence. Taking out her phone, Roxanne realized it was a call from Madeline. Continuation. Upon hearing her best friend's words, Roxanne could not help but tease, "Are you sure you want to foot the bill if I'm bringing Lucian along?" Roxanne knew her friend far too well. There was no way Madeline was going to pass up on a chance to take advantage of Lucian. Yet, to her surprise, Madeline did not hesitate in her answer. "I'll do that next time. This is a celebratory meal for you. Mr. Farwell will have to get in line if he wants to treat you too." A chuckle escaped Roxanne. "All right, I won't spare your wallet, then." Madeline hummed in agreement. "I'll send you the location of the restaurant later, so just follow the address." Without saying anything further, they ended the call. Roxanne turned to Lucian and said, Madeline is treating us to dinner tonight, and she asked us to bring the kids along." Lucian inclined his head, and they drove back to pick the three children up. The children had not seen Roxanne since Lucian sent them home the night before. When they finally saw their mother returning safe and sound, they were visibly thrilled. "Mommy, you're back!" Roxanne smiled and crouched down to hug the children who darted toward her before listening to the merry words they had for her. Smiling, she answered the call. "What's up, Madeline?" Madeline sounded excited. "I saw the news. I saw how Jack was caught. I can't believe that petty man was thinking of running after hurting you like that. He better stay stuck in prison for the rest of his life." Roxanne turned to look at Lucian. At the end of the day, Lucian was the one who managed to make Jack pay for his actions. "By the way, how do you feel? Have you recovered completely?" Madeline asked in concern. "I just had a check-up at the hospital. I've mostly recovered." "That's fantastic." Madeline was even more excited than her. "This is a double blessing. Let's head out to celebrate, and it'll be my treat. Bring Mr. Farwell and the kids along." After a while of chatting with them, she said, "Come on, let's get changed. Your Aunt Madeline is treating us tonight, so we're heading out for dinner." The children were even more excited to hear that their godmother was buying dinner. Hooray to Aunt Madeline! The family of 5 had reunited, with Roxanne now fully recovered. Additionally, they were looking forward to having dinner with their godmother. For the children, the people they were closest to was by their sides again. There was nothing better in the world than that. The joyous moods of the children were infectious, and Roxanne's smile continued to stay on her face. Madeline soon sent her the location of the restaurant. Roxanne and Lucian brought the 3 children there, after which they were led to a private room. Right as they sat down, the server brought the dishes to the table. A glance across the spread revealed that those dishes were Roxanne's and the children's favorites. "Thank you," Roxanne blurted out. "I'm sorry to have worried you." Madeline's smile faded slightly, giving way to a gentler expression. "You did scare me. I'm so glad that everything turned out fine. That's all I want." She then glanced at Lucian before continuing to Roxanne, "No one had it as bad as Mr. Farwell. At the very least, I got a few hours of sleep, but he didn't get any at all." Roxanne followed her gaze to meet Lucian's eyes, and the couple lost themselves in each other. Everyone at the table was delighted with Roxanne's recovery, and the dinner was filled with merriment. Once in a while, Madeline would criticize Jack's self-inflicted situation and praise Lucian. She even nearly told Roxanne to hold on to Lucian because he was a good man. The 3 children were nodding along with Madeline the whole time. Pleased by their compliments, Lucian footed the bill before Madeline could say anything. It left Madeline grumpy about failing to treat Roxanne, and when she saw Roxanne about to leave with Lucian, she pulled her to the side. "I haven't got to treat Roxanne yet. Mr. Farwell, please bring the kids home first. We're going to go for round 2. On our guard." It went without saying that Lucian was anxious about Roxanne leaving his side when she had just recovered, coupled with the incident a while ago. "Go back first. It so happens that I want to spend some more time with Madeline." Roxanne could tell that her best friend had something else to say to her, so she seconded Madeline. At her words, a frown marred Lucian's countenance. Worry was practically written all over his face. Seeing that, Madeline suggested understandingly, "If you're worried, Mr. Farwell, you can have someone follow us. Anyway, I certainly won't take Roxanne out to do anything to betray you." No sooner had she proposed that than Lucian agreed without hesitation. "It's decided, then. I'll have someone follow you both to provide protection. Call me when you're done, and I'll come and pick the two of you up." It was clear as day that such had been his plan from the very beginning. Naturally, Madeline had no objections to it. In fact, she even threw her best friend a teasing look. Things are indeed different when one is attached. A hint of scarlet stained Roxanne's face, and she smiled without responding to that, merely saying to Archie, Benny, and Estella, "Your Aunt Madeline and I will only go back a while later. Be good and listen to your daddy." All three children obediently acquiesced. Lucian made a call and waited for some time. It was not until he had ascertained that his subordinates were all in place that he drove away. "What's wrong? Is something else the matter?" Madeline dragged Roxanne to a quiet bar, and the latter gave voice to that question in puzzlement after they had taken a seat. Wearing a somewhat strange expression, Madeline sounded hesitant as she started, "It isn't a big deal." She then took a sip of wine guiltily, her gaze darting all over the place. At that, Roxanne's curiosity was further piqued. "Why are you betting around the bush, considering our relationship?" Madeline again wavered for a long while. Finally, she ventured, "Do you still remember Ms. Lane?" Hearing that, Roxanne was stumped for a few seconds before she recalled the person Madeline was speaking of. It was no wonder she could not remember Electra immediately, for too many things had happened in the past 2 days. Furthermore, the woman had only appeared before her once briefly. Verily, she did not have the presence of mind to pay Electra much attention. Yet, Lucian has explained that they're good friends. What's with her? Sighing, Madeline urged earnestly, "I think while Mr. Farwell was quite a 6 years ago, judging from the look of things now, he's indeed a decent man who's hard to come by. Not only did Ms. Lane grow up with him, but the timing of her return this time is also rather suspicious. You'd best be careful, lest she turns out to be the next Aubrey." After saying that, she clarified, "I don't mean anything else by that. I've seen how much Mr. Farwell cares about you in the past few days, and I believe that he definitely won't have a change of heart. But then, no one knows Ms. Lane's thoughts exactly. It's prudent to be careful." She was truly scared after everything that had transpired with Aubrey. On the one hand, she was happy that her best friend had found true love. But on the other, she was afraid that the latter would be hurt because Lucian was too popular among the ladies. Since Roxanne's return to the country, Madeline had almost lost her twice. As such, she did not want to experience it a third time. Upon hearing that, Roxanne frowned slightly. Electra's countenance gradually took shape in her mind. Casting her mind back to the woman for a while, she shook her head lightly. "I don't think she's such a person." As far as she remembered, Electra's gaze was exceedingly sincere. That aside, Lucian's evaluation of her was also relatively good. Therefore, she trusted her intuition. "I'm just cautioning you against her. Truthfully speaking, She also told me while you were still unconscious that she has no designs on Mr. Farwell. Nevertheless, it does no harm for us to be on our guard against her, Madeline asserted. What is his motive? Got it. I'll be more careful around her, Roxanne concurred with a smile, knowing that her best friend was merely warning her for her own good. Only then was Madeline satisfied. In no time, the two of them chatted about other things, the atmosphere very much relaxed. Meanwhile, Jonathan had just finished handling Jack's matter and returned to the Queen family from the police station. The instant he stepped in the door, he was greeted by the sight of his sister sitting on the couch, watching television distractedly and glancing in the direction of the door every so often. As soon as Frida spotted him, her expression changed, and she greeted him enthusiastically. I've seen the news and learned that Jack has been arrested, Jonathan. So, Roxanne has probably regained consciousness as well, right? In response, Jonathan bobbed his head. Yeah. She regained consciousness last night. We'd been busy with Jack's matter, so we hadn't the time to tell you about it. It was thanks to his sister engaging Peregrine's services that Roxanne could wake up from her coma this time. Thus, it was only right for him to notify her about the matter. He initially thought that Frida would be chagrined, but unexpectedly, he did not glimpse a hint of disgruntlement on her face. Just as he was wondering about it, his sister's meaningful voice drifted into the air. Old Mr. Lomax must have played a pivotal role in the matter, hey? Did Lucian not say anything about it? In other words, she was claiming credit from him. Jonathan's brows creased imperceptibly, and he felt a touch irked. True enough, her contribution was crucial in the matter this time. Hence, it's only natural for Lucian to thank her. Even so, she should let him take the initiative to offer her a token of appreciation. How could she ask for it herself? Moreover, her help toward Roxanne is, in a sense, an atonement for the foolish things she did in the past. How could she have the nerve to ask for a gift? When Frida received no response, her expression turned resentful. You know how difficult it was to convince old Mr. Lomax to help. I spent tremendous effort to save Roxanne. No matter what I did in the past, I don't owe her anything anymore. At once, Jonathan's expression darkened. What are you talking about? Is that not true? Your relationship with her is close, and you're willing to save her, but not me. Even if she had saved Grandpa previously, the medicinal herbs we gave her were more than enough to repay that debt of gratitude. I'm not willing to do her such a huge favor for nothing. Frida retorted in displeasure. Shut up. Jonathan's face went as black as thunder. Scrutinizing his sister, he proceeded to demand, tell me the truth. How did you get old Mr. Lomax to help? Did you really find his contact on the internet? Or was it the credit of the man behind you? He did not believe that Peregrine's contact information could be obtained so easily. Back then, he did not harp on it because he did not have the time to do so. Since Frida was presently adamant about a thank you gift, he felt that it was necessary for him to get to the bottom of things. He stared at his sister intently. Was it also him who taught you to say all this? What's his motive? Those questions of his hit Frida like a series of cannonballs. After all, she had never discussed how to answer such questions with Sean. In a flash, guilt swamped her. She opened her mouth, but no words of justification came out. At that, Jonathan's heart slowly sank to rock bottom. You turned a deaf ear to everything I said to you, Hui. Eyeing the pie, seeing his sister's reaction, Jonathan had a general idea about the current situation. What exactly is that man's motive? His previous suspicion of having sent Aubrey abroad made it clear that he was an enemy of the Farwell family. Yet, he specifically had old Mr. Lomax help to treat Roxanne this time. His actions are rather peculiar, and I can't figure him out. In the face of her brother's authoritative aura, Frida suppressed her emotions, her expression indignant. Why do you think I did so? Can't I achieve something for myself? For my whole life, the entire Queen family has nurtured you as the heir. What about me? No one has ever taken me seriously. Am I just a haughty daughter of a prominent family in other people's eyes? Am I not worthy of having my own ambition? She grew increasingly emotional as she spoke. In the end, she declared, "Listen here, Jonathan. Starting today, I'm also your competitor. Unlike you, I won't be going along with the Farwell family in everything." That tirade sparked the fury Jonathan had initially leashed. The Farwell family hasn't been maltreating us. In fact, they've been pretty good to us. Regarding them as an enemy would be true foolishness. Besides, Lucian would undoubtedly give the Queen family credit for having gotten old Mr. Lomax to help. Whatever benefit you want, I'll give it to you at that time. Having said that, he left the house right away. Behind him, Frida's expression changed, her gaze unfathomable. At the Farwell residence, Lucian worked on his laptop. He had a lot of work matters piled up after taking time off the past few days. Although Caden could handle most of the matters, there were always some deals and contracts he had to review and sign off personally. When Roxanne saw Lucian focused on work, she did not interrupt him. Instead, she brewed a cup of hot coffee and carried it over, her eyes dancing with delight. Lifting his eyes, Lucian held her gaze. Unbidden, the corners of his mouth turned up a fraction. The poison within you hasn't been dispelled completely, so you need to rest more. There's no need to bother about me. You can sleep first, he murmured after picking up the coffee and taking a sip. Okay. Don't overwork yourself. I'll go and look in on the kids to see whether they've all gone to bed. The peaceful life had Roxanne feeling incredibly relaxed. Despite almost losing her life in the bout of poisoning this time, she had also more or less gained some things. Whirling around, she went upstairs. Archie, Benny, and Estella were worn out from playing and had all fallen asleep. Thus, she planned on taking a nice, hot bath. Shortly after, a car drove into the yard, and Jonathan rushed into the living room in a frenzy. Could it be that something has happened again for Lucian to call me over at this hour? What's the matter, Lucian? He asked, cutting straight to the chase. Lucian flipped the lid of his laptop close. Calm down. It's nothing major. Have a seat. I've got something to discuss with you. Only then did Jonathan sit down with peace of mind. Raising his eyes, he watched as Lucian brewed coffee methodically. Lucian was skilled at brewing coffee, and he slid a 3/4 full cup at Jonathan when he was done. Have some coffee first, he offered. As the aroma of coffee wafted into Jonathan's nostrils, he found it very much revitalizing. I have to say, Lucian, you've been at your most irritable in the past few days. Now, you've finally reverted to your usual calmness, he lamented in a heartfelt manner, picking up the cup of coffee. Chuckling, Lucian nodded in agreement. That's true. She's the most important thing in my life, after all. The main reason I called you over tonight is to ask about your arrangements regarding the Damaris family's assets. No matter how damaged something was, there was still value to it, not to mention a prestigious family with a long history in traditional medicine like the Damaris family. Jack irrefutably had some talent in doing business. Unfortunately, his heart was not in the right place, and he had strayed from the path. Following the fall of the Damaris family this time, countless people were eyeing the pie, hoping for a share. Consider marriage indeed, the Damaris family left behind a number of top-notch assets. Jack was involved in a myriad of business ventures. Real estate, investment firms, and aesthetic medicine were his main investment subjects, while the supply chain of medicinal herbs was the core of it all. He had a total of 13 to 14 medicinal herbs trade companies, encompassing almost all types of medicinal herbs from the north to south. Additionally, he had several certifications for the production of Western medical technology. As Jonathan summarized the Damaris family's assets, he could not help giving voice to the question plaguing him all this time. I really don't understand why he was so eager for success. Considering the scale of his business, coupled with the industry's future prospects, the entire Damaris family's assets would certainly increase several folds in a few years. He could have easily attained a scale of hundreds of billions. Lucian lifted his eyes, the look in them seemingly dark and grim. In truth, he was right. He knew very well that all those businesses were merely a game of cash flow and not the veritable core asset. It's true that their medicinal herbs supply chain was exceedingly strong, but if they couldn't keep up in terms of research and development, that industrial chain would have been broken by others sooner or later. For that reason, he had a crystal clear purpose from the very beginning. He approached and tried to win Roxanne over, using both ingenuity and trickery to gain control of the research team and technology she helmed. After obtaining that revelation, Jonathan mulled it over for several seconds with a frown. At long last, comprehension showed on his face. Lucian, did you ask me here tonight because you want me to go all out to take over the Damaris family's medicinal herbs supply chain? He queried proactively. In response, Lucian dipped his head. You've done me a great favor this time, so the Damaris family's medicinal herbs supply chain should belong to you. After all, the Queen family is also in this industry, and the merging will undoubtedly be faster. Naturally, Roxanne also won't have to worry about a supply shortage if you're in charge of the supply chain. It's a win-win situation. Sure. I shall graciously accept, then. But I've got a request this time. My sister deserves some credit for having convinced old Mr. Lomax to help. As such, let her be in charge of the Damaris family's supply chain. Otherwise, the collaboration partners who used to collaborate with us in the past would likely kick up a fuss. At the end of the day, Frida's words had touched Jonathan to some extent. It's a fact that Frida has quite a bit of talent in business, but I've always overshadowed her. Our family and outsiders have never taken her capabilities seriously. This time, her contribution can't be negated. It goes without saying that I'll give her what she deserves. As for that man's motive, I'll observe patiently. The instant things seem off, I probably have the capability to curb the problem. That's up to you to decide. Since I'm handing it to the Queen family, you're free to make the arrangements. I won't interfere. Besides, your sister does have some capabilities, but she has never been taken seriously in the past, Lucian replied bluntly without a hint of hesitation. Subsequently, he poured Jonathan another cup of coffee and asked, "How's old Mr. Queen doing? If there are any problems, you can have Roxanne go over and take another look at him." Hearing that, Jonathan grinned. "He's great. Perfect, in fact. He goes on fishing trips daily, growing younger by the day. There's no need to trouble Roxanne." "I'm glad to hear that." Lucian smiled as well, finding it convenient to have a skilled doctor as a wife. All of a sudden, he quirked a brow, a teasing look in his eyes. "Speaking of which, I'm considered attached now. What about you? When are you going to consider marriage?" Jonathan never expected the man to bring up that subject out of the blue. "Whoa! Not allowed to go today." After drinking a few cups of coffee, Jonathan beat a hasty retreat with the excuse that drinking too much coffee would lead to insomnia. Lucian watched as the man left. Gradually, his smiling expression faded, only to be replaced with a pensive look. What exactly is the identity of the man Frida knows? I've looked into it for a bit, and considering old Mr. Lomax's status, she couldn't have suddenly made his acquaintance, much less successfully persuade the great king of medicine to come to Harrington and treat a veritable stranger. Regretfully, it's inappropriate for me to ask old Mr. Lomax about this directly. Having made up his mind, he snagged his phone and called Caden. "Arrange for someone to investigate everyone Frida has been in contact with recently, especially anyone with a northern accent. If you have any leads, check them out thoroughly." "Got it. I'll go about it right away," Caden answered. Without anyone realizing it, a week flew past. Lucian took Roxanne to the hospital for several check-ups consecutively to ascertain that the toxins within her had been completely dispelled. Roxanne then started to devote herself to research and development once more. Waking up early one morning, she noticed that Lucian was still slumbering soundly beside her. As she gazed at him, he appeared all the more handsome. Ultimately, she could not help reaching out and cautiously stroking his face. He has already won his woman over, so he's now starting to mock those who are still single and available, hey? Embarrassment showed on his face, and he chuckled dryly. "There's no one I fancy yet. If I've got someone in mind, I'll naturally hang on to her tightly. You don't need to worry about this, Lucian." It was as though his lips possessed some magical powers as she found her gaze riveted on them. She carefully leaned over and sampled them briefly. He did not wake up but turned over and continued sleeping. Roxanne silently got out of bed and went to the bathroom outside to wash up, loath to wake him. Thereafter, she quickly went downstairs and had breakfast before returning to the room. Opening his bleary eyes, Lucian asked, "Why did you wake up so early?" "Sleep in for a bit." "No, it's okay. I've had enough sleep. I've got to go to the research institute soon. A number of projects will be launched at the same time today, and old Mr. Lomax is also waiting. So, you'll have to send the kids to school." All smiles, Roxanne did not wait for his response but promptly leaned down and gave him a light peck on the cheek. After doing so, she was going to leave in a hurry, only for Lucian to wrap an arm around her waist. "Can't you take some time off to rest properly? Don't think I'm entirely clueless about you having been conducting experiments tirelessly at the Research Institute these past few days. You're not allowed to go anymore today." Standing up, he hugged her tightly. Then, his voice turned reproving. "You haven't spent much time with the kids since you fell gravely ill. You owe Essie for not being by her side the past few years. Of course, I owe Archie and Benny the same. Therefore, don't go anywhere today. Let's spend time together as a family." Right then, he was indescribably gentle. Roxanne wanted to argue further, but the man captured her mouth in the next heartbeat. Suddenly perking up, Lucian began kissing her passionately. Shock pervaded Roxanne. "Good Lord! He put me through the ringer last night, and it's only been a few hours since then." Her token struggles were entirely futile. Like a tidal wave, the man overwhelmed her rationale in the blink of an eye. When the calm returned after the stormy passion, she felt as though her body was going to fall apart. She rested her head on Lucian's arm, docile beyond words. Meanwhile, gratification was etched across Lucian's features, and his lips were stretched wide in a grin. Now that the Queen family has taken over the medicinal herbs supply chain, coupled with old Mr. Lomax's help, there are many experiments that you no longer need to conduct personally. Let old Mr. Lomax lead the researchers instead. Otherwise, the Research Institute will only have you as a resource and not a full-fledged research team. Do you get it?" At his gentle reminder, Roxanne bobbed her head obediently in assent to that statement. "True enough, I should learn to delegate. While I'm a core member of the Research Institute, it doesn't mean that everything has to be done by me alone." After she had grasped that, she gave Linda a call. "I won't be coming in today, Linda. Note down the upcoming projects. Then, have old Mr. Lomax lead a few of the core technical personnel in starting the experiments." By the time she had made all the arrangements, Lucian had already gotten out of bed and washed up. The triplets had also awakened. "Is there something on my face?" Archie and Benny had always been independent. Being with them every day, Estella had also learned to take care of herself. When the three of them had washed up, Lucian went over to check on them. He then complimented them all. Subsequently, it was time to change. Estella helped her brothers pick out their outfits, deciding on an incredibly cool and casual look. After Archie and Benny had changed, she swiftly claimed credit from Lucian. "Look, Daddy! Are my choices good? I want to be a fashion designer in the future. Is that okay?" "Of course. I think you might make a great fashion designer in the future, Essie." Indulgence was written clearly in Lucian's eyes. Archie likewise praised his sister, saying, "Daddy, I truly think Essie is talented in fashion design. She can even design and trim clothes by herself now." "Exactly, Daddy. Essie promised to gift us a set of clothes handmade by her for our birthday next year. We're both looking forward to it." Benny divulged Estella's secret with a giggle. Estella was inexorably shy, but her two brothers went over to her and patted her on her head lovingly. "That's great! You've finally found your own passion, Essie. Like your two brothers, all of you are the pride of me and your mommy." Lucian felt the same as he was claiming verbally. They're all smart and have different talents. Truly, they're godsend treasures. Thinking that Roxanne had already gone to work, the triplets obediently made their way downstairs for breakfast. Lucian did the same, chatting casually with them at the breakfast table. "It's going to be the weekend soon. Discuss among yourselves where you'd like to go. Your mommy will be free during the weekend, so we'll all go together," he declared. Hearing that their mother would also be joining them, the triplets instantly cheered. They started discussing among themselves. "Let's go to the zoo." "Oh, forget it. The snakes frightened Essie back then. How about the amusement park? But there are many rides we can't play, so never mind. I think we can go to the oceanarium. It's been a long time since we've been there. Essie didn't get to see the white dolphins back then. We must make it up to her this time." In no time, they reached a consensus and chose to visit the oceanarium. "Let's go to the oceanarium, Daddy. I want to see the giant sea turtles, white dolphins, whale sharks, and penguins. They're all so cute," Estella said to Lucian. Lucian nodded in agreement. All of a sudden, Archie and Benny studied Lucian's face intently. Frowning, Lucian questioned, "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" "You've got prominent dark circles under your eyes, Daddy. You should rest more and not overwork yourself." Archie wore a concerned expression on his face. "Do you not sleep well at night, Daddy? You should be like us and go to bed earlier." Benny seconded. A strange feeling suffused Lucian. It feels pretty intriguing to be on the receiving end of their concern. Nonetheless, he did not dare tell them it was because he was greedy for pleasure and spent the nights satiating his desire. Even Estella nagged, "You must sleep properly if you don't want dark eye circles, Daddy." In the end, Archie came up with a temporary solution. "Daddy, soak a towel in hot water and use it as a compress after wringing it dry. It can alleviate dark circles and eliminate eye bags." "I've also got an idea, Daddy. You can boil an egg and roll it beneath your eyes with your eyes closed when it has cooled slightly. That can get rid of dark circles. Such a method is equally effective in reducing swelling and bruising," Benny suggested, not to be outdone. Surprise flooded Lucian. They must have learned all that from Roxanne. Who knows, maybe one of them will inherit her medical skills in the future. Seek her opinion in everything. Archie, Benny, how do you both know so much? Did you learn all that from Mommy? I want to learn, too. I want to master all that." Turning to Lucian, Estella pleaded, "Daddy, have Mommy teach me, won't you?" Okay. I'll ask your mommy to teach you when she's free. But don't you like fashion design? Mastering fashion design is also something commendable," Lucian remarked smilingly, trying to steer her in the right direction. At the end of the day, talent and passion were entirely different from a passing interest. "All right, I'll study both, then. I want to learn medical skills and fashion design. I'll work harder." Estella looked determined, taking the matter seriously. Immediately, Archie and Benny expressed their support for her. Seeing that, Lucian felt that they doted on her too much. Upstairs, Roxanne overheard the entirety of their conversation. A smile tugged at her lips uncontrollably. In all her years, she had never felt as relaxed, peaceful, and joyful as she was at that moment. Her heart, which had been suspended in mid-air, seemed to settle back into her chest firmly. At the same time, a strong sense of security permeated her. In that instant, she felt all the more blissful. Since Lucian was sending the triplets to the kindergarten, she had nothing to do and went back to sleep. By the time she woke up, Caden had come over at some point and brought Lucian a thick stack of documents requiring his signature as CEO personally. Ever since her narrow brush with death, a number of unprecedented things had transpired. They included Lucian skipping work for several days in a row and important contracts being brought to the mansion to be signed. Tactful as ever, Caden did as he was instructed. After all, he had never seen his employer this relaxed and smiling so much. As soon as Lucian had signed all the contracts and agreements, Caden excused himself, leaving the time and space to the man. Before his assistant left, Lucian inquired, "What's the progress of the matter I asked you to investigate last night?" "There are some leads. A man whom Frida has been in contact with is from the north. Recently, Frida established a new company and is recklessly tossing out money to buy the rapidly depreciating assets of the Damaris family. It's likely that man's doing. I'll report back to you after I've ascertained his exact identity," Caden answered in a lowered voice. The instant Lucian dipped his head, the man left. When Roxanne came to the living room, she was greeted by the sight of shopping bags on the coffee table. They either contained supplements or nutritional foods. It looks like Caden has also learned all these formalities. But then, he didn't need to buy so much. Roxanne regarded Lucian with a chuckle. Unexpectedly, Lucian shook his head, denying that they were from Caden. "Who are these from, then?" Roxanne asked. "Electra came over and brought these earlier. She wanted to visit you, but you were still sleeping, so I didn't want to wake you. I merely told her you weren't home. She didn't stay for long, leaving after dropping all this here," Lucian replied calmly. To him, such superficial niceties did not matter at all. "Oh, I see. Did you thank her on my behalf?" Although the supplements and nutritious foods were mostly superfluous advertising in the eyes of a doctor like Roxanne, she still acknowledged Electra's kind intentions. "Yet, she also asked us out for a meal. I didn't accept right away, so you can have the say." "I don't mind either way." Lucian greatly treasured the opportunity he finally had after successfully winning her back this time. Thus, he was determined to seek her opinion in everything, lest some trouble cropped up again. "Well, I'm fine either way. She has just returned from abroad and done me such a huge favor, so I should be the one treating her to a meal. You can help me extend an invitation to her in my name," Roxanne replied. Not as simple as she looks as per Roxanne's request, Lucian asked Electra out for lunch at a high-end restaurant. When they both arrived, Electra happened to reach at the same time. Roxanne did not doll up much, merely having applied some skincare products. Contrarily, Electra wore exquisite makeup, giving off an elegant and classy feeling. However, Electra could tell at a glance that Roxanne was a natural beauty who was stunningly gorgeous even without makeup. Back when she saw the latter at the hospital, Roxanne appeared haggard. As such, she did not expect such a vast difference after the woman had recovered. Unbidden, a sliver of envy crept into her since there were some flaws on her face that could only be concealed with makeup. "Hello, Ms. Lane. We meet again." Roxanne greeted without waiting for Lucian to speak first, confident and amicable. "Hello. You're really beautiful, Ms. Jarvis. No wonder Lucian couldn't forget you all these years." Electra could not help expressing a touch of jealousy. Lucian was stunned for a moment before he hastily quipped, "Indeed, Roxanne is pretty. But I'm not such a superficial person that I'm only concerned about her looks." That remark of his had Roxanne glancing at him with a smirk on her face. Similarly, Electra hurriedly smoothed things over, seconding, "But of course. Not only is Ms. Jarvis beautiful, but her capabilities are also astounding. She isn't merely a renowned doctor. On top of that, she's a leading character in high-end medical technology. There are few women like her in this world." At the woman's excessive flattery, Roxanne promptly shook her head. "Not at all, Ms. Lane. My achievements aren't that impressive. Conversely, you've sacrificed a lot because of my illness. Your family will likely misunderstand you since you faked a marriage with Lucian under tremendous pressure." "Thank you so much." She was sincere in thanking Electra, but its meaning became distorted when it reached the latter's ears. As Electra had a suspicious nature, she instinctively stole a glance at Roxanne, feeling like Roxanne was testing her. Hence, she quickly countered, "No, don't mention it. I've already explained things to my family. The marriage certificate was fake and was destroyed long ago. Don't take it to heart, Ms. Jarvis. Let's go into the restaurant first." "This isn't a suitable place to talk," Lucian proposed. Following that, the three of them went into the restaurant. After entering the private room, Roxanne immediately slid the menu over to Electra. "Lunch today will be my treat as my way of thanking you, Ms. Lane. Don't stand on ceremony with me and just order whatever you like. Lucian and I aren't picky." There was nothing special about those words, yet they grated on Electra's ears. It was as though Roxanne was staking her claim on Lucian. Taking the menu with a smile, she did not decline but ordered a few dishes. After doing so, she saw Lucian and Roxanne sitting exceedingly close in an incredibly intimate manner. For some inexplicable reason, a sense of unease filled her. Aubrey must have lost back then because she underestimated Roxanne. Roxanne is definitely not as simple as she looks. By the way, I wonder if the things I sent over previously suited you, Ms. Jarvis. I didn't know what to buy, so I picked those supplements and brought them over, Electra commented. Smiling, Roxanne thanked her. Thank you, Ms. Lane. Supplements are perfect for someone who's recovering from a major illness like me. That's great. I really admire you, Ms. Jarvis. Back then, you were poisoned severely with a rare substance, yet you could develop the antidote by yourself, and in less than a day, at that. It's downright mind-boggling. Electra kept praising Roxanne to the skies. Meanwhile, Roxanne deflected it all, for she did not want her mind addled by the compliments. As Madeline said, I've got to be on my guard against her. With her fawning all over someone repeatedly, the average person would likely lower their guard. Verily, she did not want any other problems to crop up between her and Lucian when her 3 children had finally made up for their regrets. Uncomfortable Lucian was so focused on Roxanne that he didn't notice anything unusual. You must be thirsty after such a long conversation, he said to Roxanne, offering her a glass of water, which she accepted with a smile. Electra couldn't help but feel a little left out as Lucian focused all his attention on Roxanne and didn't even ask if she wanted anything to drink. She called for the server and said, "Excuse me, I'm not really liking the coffee. Can I please have a glass of lemon water instead?" The dishes were brought out, including Electra's lemon water. She couldn't help but notice that Lucian was so busy serving Roxanne that he completely ignored her even though she was a guest. It was an awkward moment for her, and she regretted not declining the meal invite. Why didn't I say no? By letting Roxanne treat me to lunch, it put me at a disadvantage. Trying to break the silence, Electra said, "Lucian, Ms. Jarvis, why didn't you bring the kids along tonight?" In truth, she knew the kids were at school that day but wanted to start a conversation. "They're at school. We're planning to take them out tomorrow since it's the weekend," Roxanne replied as she spooned some of Lucian's favorite dishes onto his plate. Unable to stand the lovey-dovey actions of the couple before her, Electra continued the conversation. "I would love to meet your 3 kids. I heard they're quite the good-looking bunch. Is that true?" The topic piqued Lucian's interest. "Yes, they are. After all, Roxanne and I are their parents. You can't go wrong with genetics." Electra's heart sank as she listened, but she knew she had to put on a brave face. "Wow, I really must see for myself. I wonder what kind of gifts I should bring for them." "There's no need for that, Ms. Lane," Roxanne replied. "They have everything they need at the moment. You must be very busy since you just returned home. Don't waste your time and effort preparing gifts. I'll bring them out another time and introduce you to them." From the way Electra looked at Lucian throughout lunch, Roxanne could tell something was indeed off. It was as though Electra was trying hard to hide how much she admired Lucian. Time seemed to drag on for Electra during the meal, and she announced that she was full after only a few hurried bites. "Thank you for the meal, Ms. Jarvis. I'm a bit tied up since I just returned to the country. I need to meet a few old friends later, so what do you say we call it a day?" Electra wanted to leave as soon as possible. Roxanne nodded her head and agreed, and Electra prepared to leave the private room. She thought Lucian would at least see her off, as he was big on etiquette, but much to her dismay, he didn't even spare her a glance as he spooned food onto Roxanne's plate. Down the drain, Roxanne thoroughly enjoyed herself as Electra had ordered the restaurant's signature dishes. "It's a shame she's not here to enjoy these delicacies with us." After lunch, Lucian took Roxanne to the mall and bought her clothes and shoes. Excitedly, he picked out several dresses for her to try on, his eyes sparkling with each new outfit. "This looks great on you. It feels like this dress was made specifically for you. This one too. It accentuates your curves so well. Yes, this is the one. You look like you're fresh out of college in this dress. So young and pretty. I don't mean to say that you look old. It just makes you look even younger." Roxanne lost track of how many outfits they bought, but in the end, Lucian arranged for the store to deliver everything to their mansion since it was too much to carry. The store owner readily agreed, knowing that it wasn't every day that a customer spent hundreds of thousands in one go. I recall that this is your favorite. Try it. It's more authentic here, he said to Roxanne, ignoring Electra's departure. Electra left, feeling utterly uncomfortable at the scene unfolding before her. Meanwhile, Roxanne narrowed her eyes as she watched Electra's retreating figure. Her experience with Aubrey and the near-death incident with Jack had changed Roxanne's state of mind. Back then, she was engulfed in fear and tried to avoid Lucian whenever he made the first move, as she didn't know what he and the Farwells were planning to do with Archie and Benny. Because of that, she restrained her desires and tried to convince herself to let go of Lucian. However, only she knew how deep she had fallen for him. She wasn't about to let anyone ruin her happiness now that everything was back on track and her kids now had both parents by their side. After Lucian left, the sales girls informed the store owner that he was the CEO of Farwell Group. The owner was upset that they hadn't told him earlier, as he would have offered a 50% discount for Lucian. Lucian received a call from Sonia while he was still shopping, instructing him to visit the Farwell main residence when he had the time as she needed to discuss some things with him. "You can send me back first, then," Roxanne suggested as she overheard their conversation. "Okay. I'll send you back first before going to the Farwell main residence. I'll also pick the kids up after school on the way back if there's nothing else for me to do. You rest at home. Don't even think about sneaking off to work." Lucian nagged her all the way back to the mansion while Roxanne merely smiled and nodded as she listened. She noticed that his temperament had changed quite a bit after everything they'd been through, as he used to be a man of few words. After dropping Roxanne off, Lucian headed to the Farwell main residence. As soon as Lucian stepped foot into the residence, he noticed that the atmosphere was tense. Sonia looked visibly angry and immediately confronted him upon his arrival. "Lucian, don't you think you owe me an explanation? What is going on between you and Electra? Since when were you two married?" Lucian remained expressionless as he had expected Sonia to ask about it sooner or later. "Mom, it was a desperate measure we came up with to deal with Jack. It's fake. Electra must have told you about it, right?" "Yes, she did. How could you be so reckless as to treat marriage as a joke? This is a serious matter." Sonia was fuming. She was thrilled when she thought Lucian had finally cut ties with Roxanne and found a daughter-in-law who met her standards. Despite the Lanes not having the same level of power and influence as the Pearsons used to, they were still considered a prestigious family. She felt utterly betrayed when she discovered it was all a ruse. What was Electra thinking? Why would she pretend to be married to my son to save a stranger? Is she foolish? Yours. Sonia's expression stiffened and turned colder. "That's not what I meant. I didn't say Roxanne's life is unimportant. I'm just curious if you've considered the consequences of doing this. Even Electra's parents will believe it to be the truth. What will happen to Electra's reputation after you announce it to the public? Shouldn't that be taken into account?" Lucian didn't want to get into a conflict with his mother. He pondered briefly before softening his tone and replying, "I did consider that at the time. You can ask Electra about this. I did this only after I obtained her consent." Sonia arched her brows. Of course, she would agree. Electra has always treated you well since you were little. She accommodated you by letting you have all the toys you wanted. She's just kind-hearted. Lucian was rendered speechless. He had a feeling Sonia was prepared to make a fuss about this matter. Am I wrong? Sonia became more aggressive. Even if Electra agreed to this, you shouldn't take this matter lightly just like that. Did you at least go to the Lane residence to provide her parents with an explanation? You're right, Mom. I was indeed negligent in handling this matter. I will make a trip to the Lane residence, Lucian said gently, acknowledging his oversight. Sonia heard her son's conciliatory tone, but she was still fuming, so she continued throwing a tantrum. I even spent so much time discussing the wedding ceremony and banquet arrangements with Electra's father, Richard Lane. This is just great. Mom, this is not a joke. We did it all to save Roxanne. I'm very grateful to Electra for helping me, and I plan to show my gratitude by doing business with the Lanes. Lucian's tone turned cold when he heard how lightly Sonia regarded Roxanne's life. I'm truly embarrassed now. Lucian felt a pang in his heart. It seems like Mom is genuinely anxious to remove Roxanne from the picture and wants me to get married to another woman promptly. Still, he had to yield to his elder, so he answered, Mom, I've indeed acted rashly. I'm sorry, all right? Why don't you pick a time to invite Mr. Lane out? I'll express my gratitude and apologize to them in person. Sonia did not expect Lucian to be so soft-spoken and obliging suddenly. In the past, they would always confront each other head-on, but he was now resorting to a milder approach. She was stumped and didn't know how to vent her dissatisfaction afterward. I can't believe how tenaciously Roxanne clings to life. We'll do as you suggest, then. But Lucian, are you really not planning to be with Electra? She's gentle, kind, and can provide you with significant assistance since she studied abroad. Lucian instantly grimaced after listening to Sonia trying to play matchmaker for him again, scaring Sonia out of her wits with the scowl on his face. Mom, don't say that anymore in the future. That was the limit of his tolerance. An awkward expression spread across Sonia's countenance. After a pause, she uttered, Roxanne should have recovered by now, right? I'm not saying that she's not a suitable partner for you. She's undoubtedly capable, and her medical skills are extraordinary. However, she did give birth to those 2 kids with another man. That will greatly tarnish the Farwell family's good name. Lucian's pupils constricted as he stared at his mother. Oh! I almost forgot to tell you this. The 2 kids, Archie and Benny, are actually mine and Roxanne's. They were born together with Essie. The 3 of them are triplets. Sonia fell silent as she froze in shock. She took in Lucian's serious mien and ascertained he wasn't kidding with her or telling a lie. Instead, his gaze was unwavering and shone with earnestness. What did you say? How could those 2 children be yours? No, that's impossible. There was no way Sonia would believe that. Underestimate Mom, that's the truth. Whether you believe it or not, Archie and Benny are my children. They were born 6 years ago together with Essie. In a strange twist of events, Roxanne thought Essie had died prematurely. I suppose the person who was assigned to bring Essie back was Grandpa's subordinate. He certainly didn't expect Roxanne to have given birth to 3 children and taken the 2 boys away with her. The truth could sometimes be so absurd. Nevertheless, Colby's revelation, Roxanne's admission, and the instinctual affection between him, Archie, and Benny led Lucian to believe that was the truth. However, Sonia would never believe that. She suddenly raised her voice and said sternly, "Lucian, you can't blindly put your faith in everything Roxanne tells you. What's the matter? Is this a new version of the story she made up? It isn't enough that she made those 2 boys your godchildren just a while ago. Now she's tricking you into believing they are your biological sons? That woman is truly capable of spinning tales." Even the way Sonia looked at Lucian had changed as she spoke. She wondered if Roxanne had bewitched Lucian with some medication. Roxanne has such impressive medical skills, so it shouldn't be challenging for her to concoct a drug that could manipulate people's minds, causing them to lose their sanity. No. That's not it. Mom, I know you find it difficult to believe what I said, but that's really the truth. Lucian didn't expect he could clarify everything to his mother in one go. Lucian, you need to think this through. Roxanne is such a terrifyingly scheming woman. Why can't she be satisfied with just making those boys your godchildren? Is she planning to deceive you into thinking they are your biological kids so they can claim the Farwell family's right of inheritance? Sonia wasn't fond of Roxanne in the first place. Hence, Lucian's words only further raised her suspicion, and she assumed the whole thing was Roxanne's plot all along. She must be seeking revenge on our family for abandoning her 6 years ago. I can't believe a vengeful woman can be so frightening. Muttering to herself absent-mindedly, Sonia was filled with the desperate urge to instill her train of thought into Lucian. Meanwhile, Lucian's expression turned darker. Poker-faced, he narrowed his eyes and gritted his teeth. After a few seconds, he unclenched his jaw. "Mom, just shut up. Do you take your son as a fool? Also, don't judge Roxanne in front of me from now on. I have a good grasp of her character," he uttered firmly. After saying that, Lucian lost his patience and no longer wanted to interact with Sonia further. However, she refused to let that matter rest. Noticing her son was about to leave, she hurriedly grabbed him. Sorrow and anguish filled her voice as she spoke. "Lucian, you mustn't listen to everything Roxanne says." Disregarding her, he glanced at Sonia impassively, shook off her hand, and strode past her. The next instant, Sonia lost her temper. "You're indeed formidable, Roxanne Jarvis. I underestimated you. She's such a manipulative woman. No, I cannot allow this. How can someone like her become a part of the Farwell family?" Rage burned within her chest, causing her to feel discomfort all over as she mumbled, "What should I do? How can I drive Roxanne away as soon as possible? There's no way those 2 bastards are descendants of the Farwell family. No matter how you look at them, they don't have the befitting temperament. Why would Lucian believe they are his kids?" Sonia was so furious that she thought she would have a heart attack. She quickly walked toward the table, picked up a glass of water, and took a sip. Her worried demeanor startled Electra, who had dropped by unannounced. Carrying numerous bags of all sizes, Electra entered the house and greeted, "Mrs. Farwell." Missed opportunity. Electra placed her bags on the ground and hurried toward Sonia. Grabbing Sonia's hands, she asked in concern, "Mrs. Farwell, why do you look so pale? Are you feeling unwell?" Sonia was so angry her palms were sweaty, though she felt better when Electra held her hands. Since Electra is from a prestigious family, she is definitely more sensible than Roxanne. Sonia immediately put on a smile and calmed herself. "I'm fine. Why did you bring so many gifts here? Are you sure you're okay? Come and sit down first. Drink some water. Do you feel unwell? Do you need me to send you to the hospital?" Electra showered Sonia with concern as she supported the latter to sit down. Sonia shook her head. "I'm really fine. By the way, you don't have to bring gifts when you come to see me. It's like this. I went to visit Ms. Jarvis in the morning. Since she's just recovered recently, I bought some supplements for her. Of course, I thought about giving you an even more expensive and effective supplement set." Although Electra seemed like a calm and gentle woman, she was actually a calculating person. If she mentioned that she bought supplements for Roxanne and only bought some for Sonia while she was at it, Sonia would not be pleased. However, the way she phrased it would easily ease any ruffled feathers. Sonia immediately understood her intentions and gave a small smile. However, her expression quickly soured. "What kind of supplements did you bring her? You guys don't even know each other. Why did you have to buy them for her? If you didn't have a fake marriage with Lucian, she wouldn't have gotten the antidote and might not even be alive now." Electra noticed the change in her expression and kept her emotions in check. "It's fine. It was only a fake marriage certificate. It wasn't a big sacrifice. It's not like I did anything special, so I can't take credit for it." It was evident to Electra that Sonia and Roxanne didn't get along. That's probably why Aubrey went overboard. It might be because Sonia was supporting her actions. However, I won't be as foolish as Aubrey. Of course, it's a big deal. Your reputation is at stake here. Your father almost announced the marriage publicly. If that had happened, it would have hurt you badly. Why should you be sacrificing yourself to save her?" As Sonia fumed, Electra listened to her quietly without interrupting much. She even took the initiative to brew a cup of coffee for Sonia. Sonia felt better after this and asked Electra seriously, "Tell me honestly. How do you feel about Lucian?" Electra was stunned by the question. However, she quickly put on a surprised expression. "Well, Mrs. Farwell. Lucian and Ms. Jarvis have such a great relationship. Moreover, they already have 3 children together. How could you bring this up? 3 children? Besides Essie, how could those 2 be considered part of the Farwell family?" Sonia replied coldly. Her reaction was what Electra had expected. She suddenly pretended to appear sorrowful. "I do have feelings for Lucian. After all, we grew up together. However, I knew I had lost my opportunity when I went to AP to further my studies. Besides, Miss Pearson was Lucian's fiancée at that time." Sonia shook her head and grabbed Electra's hands. She tried to persuade Electra, "What do you mean by missing your opportunity? Lucian hasn't remarried Roxanne yet, so they aren't officially together. You still have a chance. But they have 3 children already. I probably only have these feelings because Lucian is my childhood friend. I don't want to ruin his happiness, so I hope you won't bring this up to me again. Electra understood Sonia's intentions, but she had to put on a show of outright rejecting the latter. Created interference. I'll say it again. Those 2 boys aren't part of the Farwell family. Roxanne is really good at lying. At first, she convinced Lucian to acknowledge them as his godsons, but now they are suddenly Lucian's biological sons. She's really shameless. How could she even pretend to be someone she's not? Sonia lost her temper again upon thinking about this. Electra appeared shocked. That can't be true. Ms. Jarvis doesn't seem to be that kind of person. Is there some misunderstanding here? There's no misunderstanding here. How could you think Roxanne is an innocent woman? You have misjudged her. Roxanne is an extremely cunning and ruthless person, Sonia emphasized as she frowned. She was worried that Electra was too naive and had been deceived by Roxanne's facade. Initially, Electra saw Lucian and Roxanne being so affectionate with each other and thought there was no hope for her to get together with Lucian anymore. However, upon seeing Sonia's rejection and hatred for Roxanne, she felt a glimmer of hope. Back then, she had already expressed her feelings for Lucian. However, he had been too busy taking over the family business that he had no time for romance. Then, she regained hope again after Lucian and Roxanne got a divorce. However, Aubrey was much more proactive in pursuing Lucian then, so she had no choice but to give up again. After meeting men and dating for a while, she realized that no one could compare to Lucian. She suddenly felt restless after suppressing her feelings for so long. Sonia noticed Electra was in a daze and assumed that the latter didn't believe her words, so she quickly added, "I know your feelings toward Lucian. When Lucian told me he was going to marry you, I could tell that you were delighted." Electra smiled bitterly in response because Sonia had hit the bullseye on her thoughts. That's right. I was really surprised then as I thought my time had finally come. However, I didn't expect that we would only be getting a fake marriage certificate. It was ridiculous. Electra tried to suppress her emotions, not wanting to reveal them to Sonia. This instinctual response was something she had developed over the years. Ah! If only you were my daughter-in-law! How great would that be? Anyway, if you are interested, I will fully support you. Sonia was also a cunning woman. Her frankness had led Electra to expose her true feelings this day. As long as someone ran interference and disturbed Roxanne, she was happy. Mrs. Farwell, thank you. However, when it comes to matters of the heart, it cannot be forced. I'm doing well and hope to utilize what I learned overseas. Ms. Jarvis is also an outstanding woman. How could I compete with her? Electra replied as she finally managed to push down her raging emotions. At that moment, Elias had been standing outside the main hall for quite some time. Onya's voice was loud, so he had been able to hear most of the conversation. He coughed twice before walking into the main hall briskly. Electra, you're here. Mr. Farwell, nice to see you. I came over to pass Mrs. Farwell some supplements. I also bought some gifts for you when I was overseas, but the delivery is really slow, so it's not here yet. Everything Electra said and did was diplomatic. Elias nodded before praising her. That's so thoughtful of you. Why don't you sit for a while longer? We can have dinner together. It's okay, Mr. Farwell. I still have some things to attend to, so I'll take my leave now. You guys should come and visit us when you have the time. My parents have been saying it has been a long time since you guys have talked to one another. Since she had gathered all the information she needed, there was no need for her to linger any longer. She quickly left after exchanging some pleasantries. Do not be controlling. As soon as she left, Elias' expression turned dark. What's wrong with you? Can you stop mentioning our family matters to outsiders? His tone was stern, causing Sonia's expression to change drastically. What? I didn't say anything wrong. Besides, Electra is much closer to me than Roxanne, so she isn't an outsider. Moreover, if she's an outsider, why would she help Lucian to save Roxanne? Taking in Sonia's enraged expression, Elias furrowed his brows. Why can't you respect Lucian's choice? He's no longer a child, so can you stop being so controlling and obsessive? Let him handle his relationships, marriage, and family matters himself. Can't you just enjoy your own life? Elias' mentality in life was to go with the flow. After spending decades in the business world, he learned that no one would listen to others' advice, not even those closest to them. Therefore, even though he knew Lucian would make some mistakes when the latter was first taking over Farwell Group, he allowed his son to make his own mistakes. No one could substitute the experience of learning from one's own mistakes. However, Sonia couldn't comprehend this. She stood up and almost placed her arms on her waist. Why? I'm doing this for Lucian. I'm pretty sure Roxanne thought Essie wasn't going to survive and threw her away. Later, she had 2 other children with another man and decided to pretend they were part of the Farwell family. Do you know about this? Elias was stunned since he was unaware of this. He queried quickly, what do you mean by that? Lucian said that Archie and Benny are his biological children. He said Archie, Benny, and Essie are triplets. Can you believe that? Sonia was confident that her judgment was correct. Elias pondered for a few seconds before responding, it sounds surprising, but it should be easy to prove if it's true. If we verify the DNA of the 2 children, we will find out the truth. Do you think our son would not know this? Elias could only hope that Sonia was rational. Otherwise, he was afraid Sonia and Lucian would only grow more and more distant from each other. Yes, but Lucian didn't give me any evidence and wants me to acknowledge those 2 kids as my grandsons. How can I accept this? Do you think Roxanne poisoned Lucian to mess with his mind? I think you have to bring Lucian for a medical checkup someday. The more she spoke, the more suspicious she became. Elias sighed and tried to explain gently, Aubrey already caused a lot of harm to Essie. This time, we have to stay calm. As for verifying the DNA, I'll discuss this with Lucian later. You should really stop being so obsessive. However, Sonia wasn't listening to him anymore. She felt that everyone was on Roxanne's side instead of hers. She retorted, don't mention Aubrey. Before Roxanne appeared, Aubrey was fine. Who knows what Roxanne did to agitate Aubrey to cause the latter to do those irrational things. Therefore, how could this be Aubrey's fault fully? Seeing that he wasn't able to convince her, Elias decided to give up. It was impossible to change Sonia's prejudice against Roxanne in a short period. He could only do it slowly. Okay. Let's not talk about this. We haven't seen Essie in a long time. Since school is about to end, let's go over and see her. He deliberately changed the topic, causing Sonia to calm down. She nodded in agreement. Visit to the kindergarten. When Elias and Sonia reached the kindergarten, school had not ended yet. They went to find Jeffrey so that they could see Estella. Jeffrey said politely, "Please wait here for a while. I'll go to the classroom and bring Essie here right away." Soon, Estella came skipping into Jeffrey's office as she thought she was getting rewarded. Upon seeing her grandparents, she happily charged into Elias' embrace. "Ha ha ha! Essie, did you miss me?" Elias carried Estella into his arms and smiled dotingly. "Of course. I missed you, Grandpa." Elias' stubble pricked Estella, causing her to feel a little pain. "Grandpa, your beard is prickly." Elias laughed heartily and ignored Estella's reluctance, pecking her on her cheek. "I missed you too. It's been so long since we have seen each other." Sonia felt slightly uncomfortable watching their interaction. She scolded, "Don't you miss me too, Essie? Did that woman teach Essie not to be close to me?" Suspicion appeared on Sonia's face, causing Elias to glare at her. He reminded her softly, "What are you talking about? I missed you too, Grandma. I love your pastries. It's been a long time since I ate them. I really want to eat them." After Elias placed Estella on the ground, she went up to Sonia and opened her arms for a hug. Sonia felt better upon hearing Estella's words and carried the latter into her arms with a smile. Jeffrey tactfully decided to leave his office so that Estella's grandparents could spend some time with their granddaughter. Just as he was about to leave, Elias stopped him and requested, "Mr. Bauer, could you bring Essie's two brothers here too?" Jeffrey was stunned as he knew what had happened previously. He also knew Sonia's prejudice against the two kids. Sonia was surprised too and glanced at her husband. Frowning, she asked, "What are you doing?" Elias ignored Sonia's reluctance and nodded at Jeffrey. "Bring them over here." "Oh, okay. I'll bring Archie and Benny over here. Please wait a moment. Nothing will go wrong, right? They are just meeting one another." "Elias, why do you have to see those two kids? Do you really want to acknowledge them as part of the Farwell family? Let me tell you. Before anything is confirmed, I'll never acknowledge them." Sonia's tone was cold and left no room for negotiation. Estella seemed to understand what she was saying and blinked. She asked, "Grandma, do you not like my two brothers? Let me tell you good news. They are my biological brothers. Mommy and Daddy are their birth parents." Sonia froze but tamped down on her emotions to not show them in front of Estella. "Lucian has already acknowledged them, so I will too. Can you please control yourself in front of Essie? Look. Essie likes them so much. The children's feelings toward one another are the most important," Elias lectured Sonia again, but she wasn't listening to him. Estella's eyes were full of curiosity. She didn't really understand why her grandparents were slightly angry. However, she was obedient and didn't say anything. Elias turned to smile at Estella. Being with the two boys has been really beneficial. Essie is getting more fluent when she speaks. You can't even tell that she has any illness. Elias' words were meant for Sonia, as he wanted her to look at reality and stop focusing on her prejudices. Acknowledged two brothers. Sonia's lips moved to say something, but she was interrupted when Jeffrey brought Archie and Benny over. The boys were impassive at the appearance of Elias and Sonia. On the other hand, Estella beamed at them. Archie, Benny, hurry up and greet Grandpa and Grandma. Estella naively urged her brothers to acknowledge her grandparents, thinking they would then become a family. However, the boys merely smiled at Estella's urging and shot curious looks at Elias, wanting to see his reaction. With an innocently charming smile, Elias bent down and patted the boys' heads. What's wrong? Why aren't you calling me Grandpa? Go on, my precious grandsons. While the boys were baffled by his kind welcome, Elias wrapped his arms around them and pulled them in for a hug. Archie and Benny exchanged a glance. A mixture of shock, confusion, and delight crossed their eyes. Archie shot a knowing glance at Benny, and they called out, "Grandpa!" "Ha ha! That's more like it! You boys are truly my precious grandsons. I'm sure I committed a lot of mistakes in the past, and I hope you can forgive me." Elias completely ignored the scowl on Sonia's face. "Grandpa! Grandpa, you're squeezing us a bit too tightly." Benny finally got to experience the treatment Estella usually got. However, the embrace was just too suffocating for his comfort. With a chuckle, Elias released them. Archie also experienced what it felt like to have stubble stabbing at his face. The fascinating experience courted his genuine laughter. "Come, let me see who is who. You're the older brother, Archie, right? Then, you must be the younger one, Benny. Did I get it right?" After Elias released the boys, he studied their faces intently. Even though their eyes and brows look like Roxanne's, it's just because they're still young and have inherited her dominant features. I'm sure they'll look more similar to Lucian once they're in their teens. After all, they most definitely inherited the Farwell family's cool and calm temperament. Archie and Benny nodded simultaneously. Their expression and gestures were shockingly unanimous. It piqued Elias' interest. It seems I'll have to do more research on the synchronization between a pair of twins. Throughout the entire exchange, the boys didn't spare Sonia a glance. They could sense Sonia's intense dislike of them. Her expression was dark as usual, and her eyes were so cold that her aversion was evident. Although Elias caught her displeasure, he wasn't in a rush to fix the situation. He didn't want to force the children to make twisted decisions. "Archie, Benny, what about Grandma? Come on, call her," Estella urgently urged. Archie and Benny swung their gazes to Sonia but didn't speak. Irritation surged within Sonia at their gazes. In the next instant, she spat biting words through her clenched jaw. "Save it! I don't plan on acknowledging both of you. This is all your mother's scam." The boys' expressions hardened as anger coursed through them. Estella was stunned by the turn of events. A glint of sadness flitted across her eyes. "Grandma, please don't talk about Mommy like that. Please." "Nonsense. My mommy isn't someone like that. We're daddy's kids, Benny retorted. The slightly mature twin, Archie, turned his gaze to his grandfather, curious about his reaction. Simmering with anger, Elias nearly lost his temper and yelled at his wife, but he held it in. Listen to what you're saying. Can't you be more discreet in front of the kids? Sonia wanted to protest but figured she would look foolish to argue with a child, so she kept silent. She stepped toward Estella and picked her up into her arms. Let's head outside. I heard you took dance lessons. Will you show me? Estella instinctively struggled against Sonia's hold but gave up in the end. She could sense her grandmother's anger had ebbed. Maybe I can talk Grandma into accepting Archie and Benny. Evidence gratification filled Elias after a long talk with the boys. They have many regrets over the years, yet I haven't done anything about it as their grandpa. Fortunately, Roxanne is a good mother. I can see the boys have good personalities by talking to them. There's no deviation between the two. They're also shockingly remarkable and intelligent. Archie, the elder one, has a surprisingly good memory. The logic behind his behavior is meticulous. He's a rare talent in leadership since he excels in decision-making. The younger boy, Benny, has an active mind and a deep interest in technical stuff. He'll be perfect in the field of research and development. Unquestionably, their characters complement each other's flaws perfectly like a puzzle piece, as though they were born to do so. Estella, on the other hand, is cute, energetic, and meticulous. I'm sure she has some talent that hasn't been discovered yet. The three of them are truly the Farwell family's blessing. Feeling close to the elderly man before them, Archie and Benny spoke a lot with Elias. Their mood brightened as their conversation flowed. By the time Sonia was done watching Estella's dance, it was already close to school letting out. She held Estella's hand and led her back to Jeffrey's office. Seeing her husband chatting amicably with Archie and Benny, Sonia did her best to tamp down her anger. Did you lose weight recently, Essie? Let me have a look. Sonia exclaimed before murmuring, was it due to your mom's lack of attention? It was clear she planned to put the blame on Roxanne. Estella immediately shook her head and explained, it's not like that, Grandma. Mommy was sick. It was a very bad sickness, and she had only just recovered from it. I was worried about her but ate my meals on time. Hearing the accusation against his mother, Archie instantly refuted, Mommy treats Essie very well. The changes in Essie's face are due to the loss of her baby fat. Thus, she might look as though she lost weight, but, in actuality, her weight is still the same. Elias nodded with a smile at Archie's logical and reasonable explanation. Unwilling to lose to his brother, Benny added, Mommy and we treat Essie the best. I also make sure Essie gets meat, vegetables, and fruits in her diet. How could Mommy not be attentive when she even taught Essie several idioms? Sonia didn't know how to respond to their rebuttal. No one in this room is on my side. In the end, with a glower, she simply muttered, it's almost time. Elias, let's go. All right. You can head outside first and wait for me. I have some advice for the kids. Sonia immediately stormed out of the kindergarten. Meanwhile, Elias stayed back and inquired about what presents the kids preferred. All he could think about was to make up for all the Farwell family owed Archie and Benny. "Grandpa, we don't need anything. We just want to see you more often in the future. Grandpa, I want to learn how to play chess. I heard from Daddy that you're good at chess. Please teach us." Elias agreed to both of their simple requests. Before he left, he hugged the boys and asked them to take care of themselves. He also gave them his phone number. Jeffrey led the children back to their classrooms. Elias was in a cheerful mood after meeting his grandchildren, so he still had a smile even after leaving the kindergarten. However, to Sonia, his smile was an eyesore. "No, I can't let Roxanne's lies continue. I have to force her to show me some evidence." Good news only before long, Lucian came to the kindergarten to pick up the children. On the ride back, Estella happily told her father about her grandparents' visit. Lucian instantly turned wary and questioned, "Archie, Benny, did your grandma do anything bad to you guys? Did she scold you?" Archie and Benny exchanged a glance and shook their heads concurrently. Instead, they mentioned how much their grandfather cherished them and their mutual fondness for him. "Daddy, Grandma still isn't willing to acknowledge Archie and Benny," Estella revealed. Her tone was filled with worry. Lucian stopped the car and looked over his shoulder at Archie and Benny before beckoning them closer. The boys thought they were getting a reprimand from their father for not being honest. However, when they inched closer, instead of a chiding, they felt a hand gently patting their heads, reassuring them. "Don't worry. I'll get your grandma to apologize sooner or later, so don't take anything she said to heart, okay?" At such a young age, they've already learned to disclose only the good news and keep the bad news to themselves. I don't know whether I should be at ease or worried. Feeling the warmth of their father's palm, the boys locked gazes and exchanged smiles. Finally, they lifted their heads and nodded in agreement. Once they arrived home, Lucian informed Roxanne about his parents meeting the children earlier in the day. The news worried Roxanne, and she rushed to ask Archie and Benny about the details. Her stomach churned with anxiety at the thought of Sonia insulting her kids. Luckily, with their father's encouragement and assurance, they didn't mind their grandma's brusque attitude, knowing she only acted that way due to a misunderstanding. Roxanne wrapped her arms around them, inciting envy in Estella. Archie and Benny immediately stepped back from their mother's embrace to let their sister have a go. Roxanne had returned to the kitchen to prepare dinner when Lucian wrapped his arms around her from the back and promised her softly by her ear, "Roxanne, trust me when I say I won't let the kids feel wronged ever again." She nodded, believing that her husband was a man of his word. In 10 short days, the Jinermaus Damaris group and the prestigious Damaris family with deep roots in the traditional medicine field had tumbled into ruin. When the tree fell, the monkeys scattered. Those claiming to be distant relatives of the Damaris family had all left. Moreover, they fervently absorbed every last worthy asset the Damaris family had. Even though the Damaris family reacted quickly, many assets were frozen before they could transfer or sell them. Jack's assistant, Kevin, was also involved in many illegal activities. Hence, he was incarcerated as well. Even Hector wasn't spared. He was summoned by the police numerous times to cooperate with the investigation. Jack's final charges were entwined with the fate of many others. A few days later, a kind-hearted nurse helped Hector to walk into a law firm. He was dragging an 4-pole with an 4-bag hanging on it. His health had deteriorated a lot during that time. His exhaustion was evident on his pallid face. After trying to make an appointment with a renowned lawyer, Alan Caldwell, a few times, he finally succeeded. He wanted to ask about the possible charges Jack would receive. On top of being late, Alan's expression wasn't courteous. After all, the current Damaris family was no longer the old and powerful family it used to be. He used to try every trick in the book to be the legal advisor of Damaris Group, but Jack didn't even spare him a glance. The tables had turned, and it was his turn to be the one looking down his nose upon them. How curiously the world worked. However, Alan managed to calm his anger and soften the hard look on his face when he saw Hector. This man had fought many battles in the medical field over the years and treated countless patients. He's someone who deserves respect and shouldn't be the one to blame for his grandson's crimes. The Damaris family is no more. I'll cut to the chase and tell you the truth, old Mr. Damaris. Jack's case doesn't look good. He's involved in too many criminal acts, and the police have all the evidence they need to charge him. The family members of those affected by the medication are still making reports. Thus, even if you compensate all the victims' families, the prosecutor still won't let a big case like this close without a fight. I'll give you a rough analysis. The worst-case scenario is most likely life imprisonment. 10 to 15 years is a slightly better outcome. Basically, he'll already be in his 40s when he's released. Putting aside his personal feelings, Alan kept his tone as neutral as possible as he objectively analyzed Jake's possible charges. If the person sitting across from him wasn't Hector, he might have thrown in a few jeers and insults. Jack Damaris wasn't human. He was a monster. Despite being a doctor himself, he conducted dastardly acts due to his greed for wealth. Even though Hector had mentally prepared himself for the possible outcomes, he was still crushed when he heard the verdicts. His body swayed, and black dots swarmed his vision. He nearly fainted from the harsh news. Alan swiftly reached his hand out to stabilize the elderly man. "Are you okay, old Mr. Damaris? Calm down. Please remain calm. You're a patient yourself, so you need to control your emotions. This is why I didn't want to meet you. I was worried it would cause you much distress." After taking a few deep breaths, Hector finally calmed the despair within him. Despite so, he looked as though he had aged a few years after hearing Alan's analysis. A sickly pallor took over his face. Doomed. The Damaris family is a goner this time. Jack's life is ruined. His lips trembled vehemently as his face was edged with sadness. Why did you have to be so stubborn? Oh, Jack! How could you have destroyed the good name of Damaris? The more he spoke, the deeper he slipped into despair. Finally, tears flowed from Hector's eyes. A look of pity crossed Alan's face at the elderly man's desperate cries. He tried to comfort him. What a horrible grandson! The Damaris family had wealth, power, and fame. I don't understand what else Jack wants. Was it even necessary? Don't be sad, old Mr. Damaris. The Damaris family's foundation is rock solid. You're a renowned prestigious family in the medical field, so you'll regain your former glory one day. As long as Jack is alive, there's still hope if he turns over a new leaf once he's released. Alan had said every encouragement he could think of for fear Hector's health would further deteriorate from the cruel reality. No, the Damaris family doesn't need to regain our former glory. We don't need the riches, nor do we need the power. This incident has dragged centuries of the Damaris family's good name through the mud. I fear it will never regain its untainted state. From today onward, there won't be a Damaris family in the medical field. Hector sighed defeatedly once he had accepted the Damaris family's fate. His eyes misted over, filled with desolation. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. I'll pay the consultation fee once I settle the hospital bill. I'm deeply ashamed. Hector rose to stand on wobbly legs and nodded at Alan in gratitude. Alan hurriedly waved his hands. There's no need for that, old Mr. Damaris. You should save it for your medical bill. You've saved countless lives in this lifetime. I feel bad seeing you in such a state. You can look for me if you have any financial difficulties, and I'll do what I can. Your grandson is a good-for-nothing, but that doesn't negate your noble accomplishments. In the end, Alan couldn't help but blurt out his personal thoughts. He helped Hector slowly walk out of the law firm. At that moment, a person Hector didn't want to run into was waiting by the front door. Roxanne had waited for quite some time. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.